Hi, I'm Annie Fitzsimmons. I'm your Washington Realtors legal hotline lawyer, and today we are once again reaching into the Washington Realtors legal hotline mailbag to answer your questions. Today's mailbag question asks, may a broker pay any portion of their commission back to their client in the transaction? And I will tell you that a similar but slightly different question asks, can broker advertise that broker will contribute a portion of their commission to their client's preferred charity? The answer to both questions is the same. I'll give you a second to think about it, and then I'll answer the question. The answer to the question is yes. Broker can give any or all of their commission back to either of the parties in the transaction. Broker can credit commission back to buyer or seller. The Department of Licensing considers this nothing more than a commission reduction. And frankly, the Department of Licensing is fine with brokers wanting to reduce the amount of compensation they charge to a consumer. Where you have to be careful with this issue is with respect to buyers. You can give all the money you want back to sellers. Giving money back to buyers can potentially cause a problem with buyer's lender because buyer's lender has to know about the exchange of this compensation between broker and buyer. Broker may credit some of their commission to buyer for buyer's closing costs. Broker may give cash to the buyer through the closing of the transaction, running it through escrow so that buyers actually rebated back some cash. Broker may pay for improvements to the property. Broker may pay for some of the work orders that were required on the property. Whatever it is, the payment of compensation for the benefit of buyer must be disclosed to buyer's lender. If you don't make this disclosure happen, then you risk, and buyer risks, lender fraud. If buyer engages in lender fraud and you, buyer's broker, knows about it, it's actually a felony by you pursuant to Washington law. Let me say that differently because I didn't say it very well. If you are aware that buyer has engaged in lender fraud and you don't correct the record, you have committed a felony. So it's a serious matter. It's easy enough to rebate money back to buyer or seller, but if you're giving the money back to the buyer, make sure the buyer's lender approves the payment. The payment needs to run through escrow. No cash back to the buyer outside of escrow or after closing. I said that the answer is the same whether you're giving the money back to the buyer and seller or to the buyer or seller's charity. That's a true statement. If you're giving money to the buyer's charity, certainly that's not an issue that lender needs to be familiar with. You can credit money to the buyer's charity or to the seller's charity without any other person's approval. I hope that information is helpful to you. I actually get that question a lot. I know that there are lots of brokers competing to be buyer's broker, and so there are a lot of rebate programs out there from different real estate brokerage service providers to buyers. And I get questions from Washington Realtor members frequently asking, how can they be doing this? Because there appears to be a myth or an understanding in the industry that it's unlawful for brokers to give part of their commission back to the buyer. It's only that, it's a myth. It's not unlawful at all. You can give any or all of your commission to the buyer or the seller in the transaction. Only caveat, make sure buyer's lender knows about it. If you need information on this topic or any other, please send an email to me, legalhotline@warealtor.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for being a Washington Realtors member.